just maxed out my SD card again. I've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot these last couple of years, man, of healing and reclaiming my voice. This is a big one for me. Having my voice shut down and silenced. This is very common in children of abuse and dysfunction. Very. I see this a lot with people that are doing this work too online. When they're still clearing the throat chakra, but also oftentimes undergoing like ongoing attacks, dude, spiritual attacks, physical attacks sometimes, financial, emotional attacks, all of these things, dude, they affect our nervous systems in the same way. They use it's the same pain circuitry, and when it doesn't get healed, it gets locked away in trauma, as trauma in the same places. And when we're younger especially, it tends to almost universally get blacked out. What was I saying? But I'm gonna keep using it, man. It's powerful. God says to use our voice to create, speak the things into creation, pray together, come together. There's this one of the really cool things. Another thing I was thinking about this morning, where God says, "Where two or more are gathered together in my name, there I am among them." And it's like, it's so powerful when we get together on the spiritual path, when we pray, when you know. That's a separate thing, because spiritual communities and religious communities can be extremely dangerous as well. There's a lot of predators there, because this is vulnerable people. It's vulnerable people there, dude. It's like a feeding frenzy for them. Anyways, when we do come together with people on the spiritual path, it multiplies the power. It multiplies our power 2, 3, 5, 10 times, and then you put an infinity exponential on it, because God multiplies it. Sound, vibration, all of this shit is so powerful. And when we're healing our heart, our voice, our lungs, all of this stuff, speaking it, moving it out of the body, and putting healing vibrations into the body, into the heart, into the blood, programming the waters of our body with loving frequencies. So fucking powerful, man. It's so powerful. There's no separation. There's no mind and then body and all this stuff. And unfortunately, here in the West, we're still stuck in a system, especially the medical system, that doesn't recognize this in any significant way. So, if you're dealing with complex issues, oftentimes you're just going to get bounced around by people that are completely clueless and can't help you solve the real problems. Now I got like triple sidetracked on why I started this. Oh yeah, because I went through this huge fucking, like, such massive healing opening in January, and a lot of them, I mean almost nonstop the last couple of years, as I've been reclaiming my voice, as people have been continuing to attack and try to shut me down and try to silence me forever for the past like 14 months, and having my whole family in on it, dude. It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty fucking gnarly. They can't get it done. They can't get it done, dude. They can't get it done because it's not part of God's plan. These people still don't think God is real. But so when you're doing this work, sometimes you know what's wrong and you know what it is and you want to heal it, and you even know how you could heal it, but finding practitioners that can help you out can be pretty freaking difficult, because the whole system is broken. It's based on a faulty foundation that separates things that aren't separate. And then you have to pay hundreds, thousands, sometimes tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get basic medical care. If you're doing spiritual treatments, depending on what it is, that's going to be out of pocket pretty much always. Some places cover like acupuncture now and massage therapy, which is good, because so much of the pain and trauma gets stored in our fascia, in our muscles, and in our bones, and where the muscle meets the bone. Dude, that's a primary place in our physical body, outside of the nervous system. Well, that's where a lot of the nerves live there as well. It's more concentrated. But sometimes you know what you need. A lot of times you don't. A lot of times you don't have any idea what it is and what's going on. And for me, one of these, this is why I started. One of these things happened for me in January, that I kind of knew what was going on and where it came from and why it was. I've had scoliosis in my back for 35 years, approximately. Had. And I haven't had a chiropractor that could adjust it maybe a half dozen times in 30 years. Like early on, and it was tied in with my addiction and my alcohol use, especially because the pain was just so agonizing in my back. And sometimes it was, I was drinking just to handle that amongst everything else, and just to have fun too. There's a lot of different reasons we do things, especially when we're teenagers and in our 20s and shit like that. A lot of that, experimentation and that kind of stuff is just normal, and it gets pathologized in our culture. And then the compounding shame from that is often what leads into addictive patterns, unfortunately. From people that have caused the abuse, the trauma, the pain in our life, oftentimes, turning around and then blaming us for that or for the results of that pain and trauma and abuse. Crazy fuckers. Anyway, in January I had this pretty intense experience, and it felt like it did feel like an angelic presence that I could sense in a way that, like in a physical way, that is very unusual for me. I do work with angels and archangels very regularly, but feeling it in terms of like a physical presence is infrequent at best. But this night early in January, I was like just moving a lot of pain, releasing a lot, releasing just like massive shit. December and January. And there was this moment where I could feel an angelic presence. I could sense this angel, and it did feel like one of the archangels, but it might not have been. I don't know. They. It didn't leave their name, but it was like directed to get into this certain position on my bed, hanging like part way off, and just kind of moved and stretched and pushed each of my arms in a way. It was really strange. It was like a very awkward thing. And then whatever this angelic presence was like holding my back and kind of pushing and pulling up from where that curve is at in my back, and the whole fucking thing opened up. It was like four vertebrates that had been locked for decades. All of them opened up, and if you know about chiropractic care and the nervous system, in between each of our vertebrates, there's nerve bundles that come out to various parts of our body, our hands, legs, feet, arm, our internal organs, everything else. The place where mine are, I still have some issues at the top of my neck and my skull that I'm working on as best I can, self massage and trying to pop it when I can and open it up, but that'll be the next thing. Anyways, when the scoliosis happened was about 30 years ago, like a full Saturn cycle, and is when a lot of the trauma happened in my body, in my life when I was a teenager, in between the ages of 14 and 17, and where these nerves come out, so the curve kicked out to the right on my body a little bit. And where these specific vertebrates are is the bundles that go out to the heart and the lungs, and a few other things, but primarily those. And this has been a major theme, a major healing theme, and a major freaking stuck blocked energy in my life and in my body for these decades. Even though I've been in recovery for a long time, just being in recovery isn't going to heal all the underlying damage, man. That's the work that we do. That's the work that we get to do if we're lucky enough and brave enough and committed enough to fucking make it in recovery. For those of us that have struggled with, addiction and alcoholism and other stuff, we get to be clear enough on what it is that put us in that place and heal that shit. And fucking hey, dude, it's a journey. It's not easy, man. It's not fucking easy. But when you pray, and when you're on a true spiritual journey, dude, God will send helpers. God will send helpers. Anyways, this thing was so crazy, man. This is what happened for me in January, and a part of it is healing and major opening and upgrades, and for the 3 or 4 days after this happened, I was almost in shock of being being able to breathe for the first time in decades, and not fully, dude. There's still issues, dude. Everything that was around that injury, when we have injuries to our skeletal system, our musculoskeletal system, like the muscles and the nerves and the fascia and the connective tissue, all of that stuff is so used to being bound up in a certain way. So even if we heal the bones, or the placement of the bones, the structure of the bones and the joints and stuff like that, everything else around it is so used to being locked up and is going to want to try to pull it back in that direction just by default. It's not like a conscious choice thing or anything. It's just like physically our body put those things in place in order to protect us from what it determined in its nearly infinite wisdom was an even worse outcome and possible death. It's the same with emotional pain. That's why trauma gets locked away until such time as we can deal with it. But if we get enough of those, eventually we can't deal with it at all, and they turn into like diseases and shit. So circle back around. A lot of times we don't know what the injuries are, man, from our childhood and shit like that, especially. But sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do, but we don't know how it's going to heal, or if there's even any way for it to heal. This thing in my back, I kind of knew about. I'd kind of intuited the timeline and some of the shit that had happened back then in my life. But I didn't even know that trauma existed until like 2-3 years ago. I mean, I know about PTSD from like combat, but complex PTSD and the ways that PTSD can happen. And the reason why even combat vets and other people get PTSD is usually related to CPTSD and childhood stuff and other more like complex issues and neglect and things like that. There's less of a foundation. There's less of a foundation. So I had this major fucking opening, and I'm this is just a couple months ago after 30 years of having this shit locked up. It was 1323 right when I was saying that. Just like so much pain locked up, and so much damage to my heart and my lungs and my voice and everything else. And when your heart is damaged, it affects every other part of your body, your brain, your gut, everything. Your blood, when your blood isn't flowing right, it affects everything. When your blood isn't oxygenated, it affects everything. That was a big thing for me too, with the Lyme and these other viruses that I had. Like my cells couldn't produce ATP, they couldn't produce energy anymore, and there was no oxygen in my blood. So it's just like starving, like chemically starving from the inside out. Oxygen starvation. It's like drowning, but you're not underwater. You're just fucking drowning because your body stopped producing. Your cells stop producing energy. Your mitochondria stop producing energy. These fucking viruses. These viruses get in there and they trick your body, dude. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. Some of the stuff, dude. Lyme is no fucking joke, man. Guys, be careful out there. It's good to be outside, be out in the outdoors and shit like that, but it's not just ticks that carry it either. It's not just ticks, and not all the strains are that bad. But again, it depends on many factors. And anyways, sometimes these things is like, sometimes it's just in God's timing. Sorry, my hands are falling asleep trying to hold this. So sometimes it's just in God's timing, you know. We want to heal and want to do all these things, and sometimes we know what we need. Sometimes we know what's broken. Sometimes we just don't. This is one of those moments for me where it's just like, it's such a huge upgrade and healing and opening that, you know, I'm still processing it, and my access to medical care, and especially alternative care, which is what I need, is extremely limited right now. The treatments for Lyme disease that are like ozone and oxygenation of the blood are, I don't know anywhere really to get them around here. I think it's like the only place I found in LA is like $1,200 a session. But it's just crazy again. It's crazy because it's alternative, blah, blah, blah. They made oxygen therapy illegal a half century ago. The ADA that controls all the treatments and the medical schools, they tell the medical schools what to study and what's real and what's okay to pay for and everything else, because pharma owns them and tells them what to do, and they like to make money. But oxygen therapies solve almost every human illness. Fasting and oxygen therapy and a few other things that are very basic. They're very inexpensive and they actually heal, which isn't good for big pharma. It's not good for doctors. It's not good for hospitals, because it's cheap. It's almost free. And then exercise, being outdoors, having safe and healthy relationships. These are all the things that humans need, and they're all almost free. You're not going to find a doctor talking about any of them, really. On podcasts, yeah. In alternative health, yeah, a little bit. But it's like, it defeats their whole purpose for existence. And big pharma is, you know, it's like the second most powerful industry or whatever. I forgot the word after the military industrial complex. But now both of them are owned by the same companies. There's just a handful of companies that own them both. They don't care if it's a war or some kind of fake health crisis. They're gonna be making a lot of money either way. Either way the pendulum swings with them. They're raking it in. So, but yeah, we don't have control over when these things happen. Sometimes, man, even if we know what we need and what's going on, but keep praying, keep seeking God, and God will send miracles. God will send healing of many kinds. I just wanted to share. I wanted to share this little thing because I was just thinking. I'm drinking my coffee still and getting ready to go for a walk with my doggy. And it's just like it's so mind blowing when this happened, because it's like I could feel the presence, and I was doing my things. I was doing my work as best I could, as I always do. But God's like, no, you need a boost right now, and just opening this shit up, man. Opening up the heart and the lungs, using my voice, continuing to just use my voice and speak the truth, praying, meditating, and breathing. It's crazy feeling now, understanding like how much I had locked up, how much I was carrying in there for 30 years, dude. And really for 47 years. Because a lot of the stuff that's buried, like next layer down of the work that I'm doing, is like more childhood and more adolescent stuff. This shit just had to get opened up so I could get to that next layer of stuff, man. Come on, God, give me a fucking break, dude. Give me a break. But it's just wild, man. The things that we need, sometimes they're right in front of our face. So that's where synchronicities come into play, man. God, the universe. God will keep talking to us, man. God is always talking to us if we're listening, right? And if we're not, God will keep talking to us no matter what. It's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world. It's crazy being on this fucking healing path, yo. If you guys are on it, you know. It's stupid, it's crazy, it's exhausting, but it can be so fucking rewarding too. especially when you start working with other people and you see other people healing, and they're healing because of the work that you've done on yourself and the shit that you've walked through, and that you can turn around and help somebody else with that thing now that nobody else could fucking help them with because you've been through it yourself. That's some fucking miraculous shit. The times, especially when I was working with people in recovery a lot, up in Oregon, and back in Colorado, actually, the first time I got sober, and we were doing a lot of outreach work, man. Just working with people, even people that are like fresh off the streets, dude. In some ways, it's easier to work with people that are in really rough shape. It's not like, right now I'm not drawn to it just because for various reasons, but there's so much that you can do for people that are in that state, and their life is just like so fucking rough. It makes it a lot easier. Anything that you do is so much bigger for them. But as you solve bigger problems and more complex issues, like, you can help more people. You can help people that also have very complex and very big issues as well that nobody else could solve, because you've done it. You've done it for 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case is, and then you can help certain people that nobody else could because of that. It's miraculous shit. It's a miraculous life. Anyways, dude, if you're healing and you feel like you've just been at it for a really fucking long time and you want to give up, don't do it, dude. Keep going. Keep going. Sometimes things are just in God's time, man. Sometimes the things that need healing, we don't even know about yet. Especially when you're dealing with complex trauma, man. Complex trauma is no joke. It gets all mixed up with our personality, with our culture, with our family, with so many fucking issues. So many fucking things, dude. And then it tricks us into thinking that it is us. But it's not. It's nervous system injuries. When we're forming our personality structure, between the ages of 0 to 15 especially, but even up till when we're 25, and to some extent for our whole life. And the brain is still forming very rapidly until we're 25, dude. It's crazy how wrong culture can be sometimes. How fucking wrong, and everybody believes it just because that's what they were told. It's what they were told to believe. It's what they were told how it is. It's wrong a lot. Love you guys. If you're healing, I see you. Sending you a big hug. If you're in LA, let me know if you want a real hug. If you need prayers, if you need help navigating any of this kind of stuff, let me know as well. It's what I do. It's what I love. Hope you guys are having a great day. Oh shit, I forgot it already. This lady that I talked to, we almost share a birthday at the 7-Eleven where I grabbed my coffee this morning. She's saying something like muy bien dia, about have a most excellent day, have a great day, something like that. It was really sweet. I hope you guys have a most excellent day.